Well, good morning, everybody. Hi, everybody. It's Don, and I hope you're having a fantastic day while it's 6 a.m. here in the morning. And I got some cruise news, but can you hear the birds? Like, it's great to wake up in the morning like this with the birds chirping and the sun shining, and it's not too hot, not too cold. The bugs aren't out. Just a relaxing stay so far. It's been really, really great. But you know what hasn't been great? A few different issues going on in some cruise ships right now. One cruise line had a really horrible disembarkation, which they had to apologize for. Another cruise line had a really horrible embarkation. Completely different cruise line, different area. And they're having issues, and it's not the first time this has happened. We also have some good news. If you happen to be on the very first sailing going to the brand new private destination Celebration Key with Carnival Cruise Line, well, you have a special guest that's going to be on that cruise ship with you in the future. We have some exciting news if you're fans of the little cruise line that could, Margaritaville at Sea, because they're expanding their fleet again, which will mean they will more than triple the size of their fleet inside of 3 years. Pretty exciting news for there. And finally, let's talk about a cruise passenger who is very unhappy with one of the world's premier river cruise lines and their kind of lack of communication and lack of, how do I say it, forthcomingness when it comes to refunds. So some good news if you're going on the very first sailing going to Celebration Key, which is going to be the Carnival Magic on July 12th. And I think you get there on the 19th in the Celebration Key. Well, you're going to have a special guest. Brand Ambassador John Heald has just announced that he's going to be on that cruise as well. And he's going to do some meet and greets and along with some other events on board. I'm sure that's an exciting cruise. I really wanted to be on this sailing. But my Alaska cruise lets out on, you guessed it, the 12th of July. And it lets me off in Seattle, which means with the time difference and the 4.5-hour flight to Fort Lauderdale, it's virtually impossible to make that ship on time. Yeah, completely impossible. Completely impossible. So, yeah, I won't be able to get there for that. I would have loved to have met John Heald on there. It would have been an extra little perk. So if you're on the Carnival Magic, you're going to get to see John Heald in person. Next, let's talk about Virgin Cruise Line. And they just issued a big apology for the Resilient Lady in Athens because of disembarkation. Now, on the cruise, they ended up having a gastronomical outbreak for some guests on board, which, is some complications. Now, they did jump into the protocols and the enhanced cleaning, etc. But protocols in Greece, when you're getting off the cruise ship, anyone who's come down with an illness and everything has to be disembarked separately from all the other guests. And they all have to wear masks. So they had to organize all these people ahead of time before they can start disembarking everybody else off. And apparently the communication was not great. Apparently the app never updated the times of people getting off, whether it was delayed or not. It would say, oh, you're supposed to get off at 7:30, and they wouldn't get off till 8:39. And there were long lines. There was nobody to ask. No one knew what they were doing. And it took longer than expected because just getting the communication to the people who were sick, that they had to wear masks, etc., was a troublesome effort. So they did issue a complete apology to everybody on board and said they'll have to do better in the future. It's just one of those things that kind of caught them a little off guard as well with gastronomical outbreaks. They're not, they're one of the newest cruise lines out there. They may not be quite used to handling these like some of the more seasoned cruise lines that have been around for decades and decades. So I think we'll give them a pass on this one. But if you're trying to get to the Athens airport in time to make your flight, any delay can be, very, very troublesome. But another cruise line that was having embarkation problems was the Disney Dream. And they had a glitch on their website, which meant that they could not do early check-in. People could not check in, put their passport information in there, their guest information, their credit card information, pictures, anything. And all this had to be done now at the cruise terminal. Now, if you're going on board with 4,000 passengers, nobody's done pre-check-in, and everybody needs an individual photo taken, and there's a ton of kids, and they need to check your citizenship and documents. This took way longer than they thought it was going to, than it would normally take. Absolutely way longer. Not only that, this was only a 3-day cruise. So every delay in a 3-day cruise seems to multiply it by like 10. Because you're only supposed to be on the ship a limited amount of time anyway, and now this is delaying you and causing frustration. And embarkation day is really the most frustrating day of anybody's cruise. More people ended up having, heart attacks and strokes and everything on embarkation day than any other day. There's more medical calls on embarkation day than any other day of the cruise normally. So this just topped off with some extra stress. But it's not the first time, because apparently the Disney Magic the week before also had the exact same issues. So let's hope Disney gets these glitches on their check-in fixed rather rapidly before the summer season hits in full blast and we get the big ships coming in launching for Disney, and this happens. It's going to be a very frustrating time for some people. Next, last week I announced that the Costa cruise line was losing another ship. That would be 4 ships that they've lost to their fleets in a matter of 4 years. And this one, we now know where it's going. The Costa Fortuna is now going to Margaritaville at Sea. They will take possession of it next year in 2026. It is now going to be their largest cruise ship in their fleet. Their newest cruise ship, double the size of the first ship they had. And it's been very, very successful, being able to go on slightly longer cruises and selling out more than the other one. Well, now they've gotten an even larger ship. And if they can get some, the odd brand name restaurant, just one brand name restaurant, like a Chops or a Sabatini's or something that is recognizable, as well as, or create their own brand is what I'm talking about. And then some really half decent, like a Broadway style show on these ships. They could really do some, competition to cruise lines like Carnival and Royal that are going for those 3 and 4 day cruises as well, because they're at a much lower price range, which a lot of people really, really like. So good for Margaritaville at Sea. They'll be tripling their fleet now within 3 years of each other, basically. Good job there. And finally, we have a Viking cruise passenger who booked their first Viking river cruise. Now, they're experienced cruisers, but this was their first ever Viking cruise, and they booked some shore excursions, paid extra for them because they're some of the ones that you have to pay extra for, and they noticed, hey, wait a minute, when I went on my website to check it out, we noticed it's not there anymore. This is like a month after they had booked it. It's no longer there. And so they looked into it, and then they ended up having to call. Not only was it canceled on them, without any notification sent to them whatsoever, they also weren't refunded. And they had to ask for their refund back. Then to top it off, they looked again and found out another one was canceled. And you guessed it, it wasn't refunded as well. So yeah, not a good look for their, one of the premier river cruises out there. And a lot of guests chimed in on this saying, you know what, we have to be very thorough and very watchful. They cancel excursions all the time without letting people know, especially the ones that we paid for. And if you don't notice it, and then you have to wait till you get on the ship to get your money back, now you're wasting time going to customer service and stuff like that. So yeah, just to watch out, keep an eye on your shore excursions to make sure they're not canceled and that they're refunded. Right now, at least on the Viking River cruises. I haven't heard of this happening too much on other cruises, but some people have said, even on their ocean cruises and the Caribbean cruise, they happened to them as well. And they had to ask for their refund to get it back. Yikes. All right, yeah, that's a little bit of a mess of disembarkation, embarkation, mess shore excursions, but good news with expanding Margaritaville at Sea. And those of you on the Carnival Magic get to see John healed on that first ever sailing to Celebration Key. I hope you have an amazing cruise. Let me know, have you ever experienced really long delays in disembarkation with no communications? I have, and I've been on multiple cruise lines, so it's not just Virgin Cruise Lines. It can happen to anybody. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation. And I'm just gonna enjoy my coffee and listening to the birds. This has been a great couple of days away from the city.